Hello everybody, this is Diana. This is my Trailblazers of the Universe podcast. Some of you might know me from my YouTube channel, Trailblazers of the Universe, where I help you unapologetically live your best, most authentic life. But I'm in the podcasting world now. So this podcast, my Trailblazers of the Universe podcast, is bridging self-improvement, spirituality, and emotional healing, but it's not limited to just that. So today we have a special guest, Robin Knott. And Robin Knott is a Reiki Master. And what are your other credentials? I wasn't sure if you had other ones.
It's okay. So Reiki Master Teacher, and then I have a master's degree in social work, and I specialize in mental health and addiction treatment.
That's great. Very knowledgeable. And, just a little bit of background, some of you know I went to, treatment for, addiction issues I had in the past. And right when I got out of my treatment, she had some chakra healing challenges, and that's where I started to learn about the chakras. And then I became interested in Reiki, and I started to implement my own healing chakras. So she really gave me a good basis, a foundation to learn all of that. So, and we've actually done some challenges together. I've joined some other challenges, events that she has on a monthly basis. So we go back, and she has a YouTube channel as well, where she talks a lot about chakra healing and just, I guess, a variety of different topics. And you've even done some, abundance challenges, so a little bit of everything. So today's topic, with that being said, we're going to talk about chakra healing. Well, we're going to talk about basically the basics of the chakra system. For those that don't know, there's 7 chakras, energy centers, right, what they are, information about each of them, and what a balance and blocked chakra looks like, or even overactive, right? That too. So overactive, balanced, and blocked, and also some things we can do to heal them. So I guess we could start. So I guess if you want to start to give a description for the people that don't know what the chakras are and why it's important to heal them, and why, what's the just I guess basic information to start for someone that doesn't even know what a chakra is.
Yeah, for sure. So a chakra it's a wheel of energy, basically. And like Diana says, we have 7 main ones that we tend to follow. So we have more than that. Like some say that we have 114 or more chakras. We have them in our hands and on our feet and all over the place. However, again, we're going to focus on the main 7. So these energy centers, which some people can see them, I personally do not physically see them. I can feel them though, right? We all have our senses, our clairs, if you will. For mine, it's like sensing and feeling and having that sense of knowing, and that works for my chakras as well and others' chakras as well. So the main 7 starts at the root of the spine, like around the tailbone area, and then follows up to the top of the crown of our head, right? So again, they are energy centers, and to keep them balanced and clear helps with our concentration, with our self-awareness, just improving our overall well-being. So if you think about this energy flowing in and around us, around our body, just over generally speaking, when we're not processing information, we're not processing our experiences very well, that energy can get very dense and heavy. So our chakras store memories, if you will. There's layers within the chakras. So different parts in our life and past lifetimes bringing that over, we have these different memories that follow along with us, kind of waiting to surface and be healed, right? Or to be cleared, and so that that energy can move. So again, it helps with that concentration, awareness, and overall well-being. And when it doesn't get cleared, when it stays blocked or gunky, and if you think of a mud ball and just more getting packed on to it, because one thing can lead to another. When you think of those cycles that we have, right, like our thought processes and the actions and behaviors that we just repeat and repeat and repeat, it's like we're adding more dense energy, more gunk, if you will, to that blockage. And then it can present in a physical. So as we go through and talk about each of the 7 chakras, we're going to talk about some of the areas of our physical body that it represents, that it oversees, if you will. So for an example, do you want me to start with one of them?
Yeah, so I guess we can go through all. So we're focusing on the 7 main chakras today. There are other ones, but these are usually what we're focusing on in this 3D reality. and it's pretty. These are pretty standard. I mean, when you're getting Reiki done, you know these chakras are being worked on. So the first chakra, where we'll start with the root chakra.
Yes. Okay. So Diana says the first chakra, the root chakra, again, is located about the base of the spine. So I want you to not get overly focused on a pinpointed area, right? It's not a small pinpoint at the tailbone. It's just that general space where we start, or we kind of imagine it to be. But if you were to think of a cone, right, it's like it funnels into the spine area, but it flares out. So there's a space all around us too that it entails. So with the space of the space
It's okay.
base of the spine, there we go. I always like to stumble over my tongue a little bit.
It's okay.
You might, it's just a thing. It's kind of happened. So we have that. You might even think of physically, right? So when you're thinking of the base of your spine, your low back area, do you have any pain or discomfort there? Some people have difficulty with like sciatica or even your body's elimination system. So, how we use the bathroom, right? If we are experiencing diarrhea or having trouble urinating, anything that's eliminating could
Yeah.
deal with the energy from our root chakra. Hips, knees, feet, all of those can deal with the root chakra, even our immune system. You might notice some eating disorders, have that financial
Mm.
instability, right? That scarcity. So you had mentioned that, like the abundance challenge, it was the money blocks clearing challenge. A lot of people, the first thing we think about when we think about our chakras is the root chakra.
Yeah.
Humans' basic needs, right? When you the having abundance or enough of food to eat, shelter, anything that would protect us, as you said, 3D physical body, is all related to the root chakra. Even depression, because how often can depression be kind of stemmed from trauma, fears, right? There's so much that's involved in that,
Yeah.
but that can also be affected with our root chakra. Ways to heal. Oh, let me talk about, sorry, getting ahead of myself.
Oh, it's
So
okay.
when it's balanced, we're comfortable, right? I'm not going to say that it necessarily means that we're rich in everything, but we feel safe and secure in it. We may not have those fears or lack of scarcity of all of our basic needs being met. We feel comfortable, we feel
Yeah.
grounded.
Feeling
Doesn't mean
safe.
that,
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
safe in your environment, and I think in your body too. You know, some people might just think that, but I think it's also feeling safe in your body. You know.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Because like you say, it is this physical body, and this is where we're being housed, and we being in that energy form, like our soul, right, is carrying around, moving through this body. So absolutely, if we feel safe or not in it, is huge.
Yeah. So for
Um,
so for someone, so I guess we could talk about what also like what an overactive is, like underactive, and then balance. Yeah.
okay. So I did kind of group some of those things together.
Yeah, that's
So
my
if you
notes.
wanted
Yeah.
to, sorry,
Yeah. Oh, it's
I have a
okay. No
tendency
worries.
to do
Yeah.
that.
It's okay.
Um, but yeah, like overactive might be like I want to use the example of elimination. You might have too much flow going on there, right? Like a constant. Whereas if it's blocked, you might literally feel that blockage where maybe you have that constipation or um, unable to release things like kidney stones, right? Things with the bladder. What was the other I was thinking of? Um, Depression is that heavy feeling where that anxiety would be kind of that speedy feeling, if you will, but I would call that overactive as well. Kind of when you think opposites, blocked being heavier, denser, where overactive is just like a spinny, is what comes to
Yeah.
mind, where the energy is spinning. So something that's going to be moving quicker, something we do faster in a sense.
Mm.
If that makes sense. So we really want to have that energy balance. Now, I will say that some people feel that we get so used to things too, right? So
Yeah.
things become our comfort. So if I get used to an overactive or underactive energy, and I'm starting to realize that that's what it is, when I'm comfortable with it, change becomes uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
may not want to change.
Yeah.
Or I may realize, let's say that I'm having difficulty with constipation. I'm just trying to, this is the obvious one to
Yeah.
me. Say constipation. So I'm clearing out this energy. I realize where my fears are at, where I don't feel grounded or safe in my body. So I'm starting to heal that. I'm starting to clear that energy. So heads up, everybody, as we start to clear that energy, it literally can clear physically. So releasing, right, in the bathroom
Yeah.
could be a thing that could be part of that detox symptom. So well, I could go from constipation to like a diarrhea aspect, but don't give up and don't be discouraged. It could just be part of that process. Once
Yeah.
it's cleared, then we balance out, then we become more regular. So again, I chose one that seems kind of obvious, right? Because most of us as human beings have had those experiences all the way through. Not that we all want to talk about them, but we've all had them, right?
Yeah.
So it's easier to kind of understand and say, okay, I can see where that would be blocked. This would be releasing and clearing or overactive, and then this would be the balance situation. But all of those affecting the root chakra, and they can affect others. So remember,
They're all connected. So so an imbalance in one, I know, is or one that's overactive. Right? For instance, like the root could be have a lot of energy, and then maybe taking some even from the sacral, right? The next one up, and they're all connected. So they can
mhm,
get out of balance pretty easily, you know. And just because we get a Reiki session, and just because you did whatever healing method, doesn't mean like it could easily get thrown off. And
oh
a
yeah,
lot of them are emotional blockages. A lot of these blockages we talk about, they're emotions that are like stuck in those centers. So maybe we could also, I don't know if we should talk about maybe like emotions that are related to or that could block. I don't know if that makes sense for this. Maybe we won't. Okay, we don't have to do that today. Or if you
well,
happen to think of any that come up, yeah, that
sure.
are like for instance, you might have shame, maybe more at the sacral, right, and like
Mhm,
guilt more with the solar plexus. So maybe like major emotions that could block them. Maybe that would be
mhm,
good. Yeah, for the root.
sure.
Yeah,
Well, like you said, you mentioned fear too, right? We have fear,
fear
depression. Those are also emotions that
for the
we
root. Yeah,
experience. For sure. And yeah, and like you said, so we can, and the blame, shame, guilt, all of those can mix and blend,
they
right?
can all mix. Yeah,
Because energy is flowing.
yeah,
So even when we have blockages in our chakras, which I would fancy to say that everybody, right, as a human being has a blockage somewhere in their energy body. I feel like that's just part of our journey. It's part of our system, if you will, or our experience, just our life experience. And part of what we're here for is to clear it out and to learn from it and level up, right?
yeah.
So I don't think it's anything to be like shameful of or feel bad that because we have some kind of a blockage. But I think as humans in our evolution, we are becoming more aware and we are trying to clear out more things and finding different ways to clear those out. So I think it's a beautiful process to be able to allow it to surface up so that we can recognize what it is, be aware of it, and clear it out.
And definitely, I think right now, like with everything that's going on the planet, you know, with all the fear being put out, I kind of say that some of the forces on this planet try to target the root chakra, right? Because if people don't feel
Hmm.
stable in their body and their environment, or even financially, right, everyone has a little bit of a struggle with that. What the economy is, and it's just like you don't. How can you connect to your higher self? When you don't, it's the what was it, Maslow's law of hierarchy, like the
Hmm.
first level
Hmm.
is like what, safety and security. So if you don't even feel safe and secure in your environment, you don't feel stable, you don't feel financially stable, like physically stable, then how are you gonna like connect to your divine self and even get up the energy up to the higher chakras, even live in your heart space? So I think that's my opinion. It kind of went off track, but I think that that's being a little bit targeted right now with the fear that's always put out. Well, I guess it's
Hmm.
always been that way, but particularly now, you know, as we're shifting in
Oh
frequency.
yeah.
So I think the root is important to start with. You know, when I first got out of my addiction stuff, I believe that my root chakra needed a lot of work. I felt very called to work on my root chakra. And, you know, before I wasn't that great with money. I didn't feel stable because of my addiction and stuff, right? So when I focused on that, my life did get better and I was able to eventually move out, get my own place, like feel more secure, feel more grounded. I would go out in nature a lot to ground myself. So
Hmm.
that was the first one I worked on, and I really feel like it helped. You know, some people don't want to work on. That's probably the least favorite, or one of the least favorite for a lot of people. I don't know. That's just my opinion because we
Hmm.
want the higher, the nicer, the funner
Right.
chakras, the crown, the third eye, and stuff. But it's important to start with the foundation. You know, you have to have a stable foundation, you know, to build on and to get the energy flowing up, right? Because we want to have energy
Hmm.
flowing between all of those
Yeah.
chakras. So for those that kind of want to, if you get into chakra healing, I think, you know, I emphasize the importance of the root chakra, you know. They are
Yeah.
important, but the root chakra that's your foundation, you know, that's the base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm glad you brought those things up because even in, let's say, even in a smaller personal level, in our personal relationships, many of us have dealt with that, the power and control issues, right? Whether it's us trying to feel like we have power and control because we feel like things are so wonky, being unstable and ungrounded and not safe, or being the other, I don't want to say victim of, but in a sense, a victim of someone else trying to have that power and control over us, right? And like you said, it could be government wide or even higher than that, right?
Yeah.
Forces that be to try to have that power and control to keep us in fear or use whatever it is to keep us wonky so that we can't connect and align and be all that we really are, for sure. Also, with the root chakra, what did I want to say about that? The grounding is very important. So the earthing
Yeah.
and the
Earthing
grounding,
is something I
yeah.
do all the time. And especially with the higher frequencies coming on the planet, never, sometimes it's really simple. We need you to feel better, sometimes it's just grounding. I was out in the grass earlier with my feet in the grass, and I do it all the time. And I go out in nature. I'm really learning to connect more with my roots. Sometimes when all else fails, go back to your root, go back to the basics. That's what I say.
Yes. Yes. And the element of the root chakra is earth. So
Yeah,
it's like perfect, right? A perfect way to ground and clear that energy in our root chakra. Oh, and our beliefs, right? So our beliefs are the root of our human life experience. So when you think about what we believe, so whether it's humanness, spiritual, so what if for someone who isn't a spiritual person, right? They're not even going to have that um, hmm, that energy, that experience, that anything like that direction, that guidance, that all the things that like we in this community seem to have to help us manage and balance and clear our root chakra. I know for me, before I allowed myself to be more open and spiritual, I felt more stuck and
yeah,
heavy, right? So that makes a big difference as well. So again, polar opposite being the crown chakra, which we'll get to, but the crown chakra being that spiritual connection. And like you
yeah.
said, the importance of having the balance. We don't want to be too wonky in one way, but we don't want to be too heavy in the other.
I think I see a lot when I think of the spiritual community. A lot of people maybe don't seem as grounded. I saw a meme. It said people are obsessed with ascending but haven't mastered grounding. It's not to down anybody, but I do see that pattern in the spiritual community. I see a lot of people are more about love and light, which is great, but there's also the grounding aspect and the shadow aspect too. So I think some
Hmm.
of the lower chakras is also dealing with your shadows, doing shadow work,
Yeah.
and integrating some of the lower densities, lower emotions and stuff. It's all part of the process, they all are integrated together.
Yep, I agree 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. So do we want to continue also
With the
sharing a
healing
couple other
stuff,
things that we can
yeah,
heal
I would
the
say we can
root
get into the
chakra?
healing stuff now, yeah. Or the
Okay,
healing of
sure.
the root chakra. So if someone wants to work on healing the root chakra,
Hmm.
Reiki is an option for people. Reiki has really
Hmm.
helped me. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but there are ways you can work on healing your chakras yourself, and you might not. These are things that you might not think of. There's a few different ways.
Right. So even color. So
Yeah,
everything is energy, right? And sometimes I think, I don't want to say we forget it, but we just don't make the connection of it. So everything is energy. Color carries energy. There's like color therapy. You could wear red clothes. So the color red resonates. It's
yeah,
not the only color, but it resonates with the root chakra. So if you wore red clothes, red jewelry, and I think of, beads and crystals, it's easy, again, not the only, but it's easy to remember if you follow the colors of the rainbow, aligning that with the seven chakras, the red for the root. You can wear those crystals and that will help clear and balance those energies in the root chakra. If you're familiar with solfeggio frequencies, which is something I absolutely
yeah.
love,
They're really helpful.
mm, yes, 396 is the one that resonates with the root chakra. And even doing affirmations or reflection. So a statement of I have, right? So that abundance to counteract the lack and scarcity. So when we think of, or when we start to find that we're worrying about not having enough, to really start to see what we do have. And as you said, Diana, sometimes it's breaking it down to the bare minimums or the basics, right?
Yeah, back to the basics.
Having
Yeah,
a roof over our head,
yeah,
whether it's the roof we want or not, we have a roof over our head.
yep,
We're out of the elements, right?
yep.
We're safe where we're at. Um, having food to eat, whether it's the food we want to eat or not, right? Do we have food that we can eat? Do we have water that we can drink? you know. So those are just some simple things. And again, just to repeat one more time, earthing, grounding, whether you're barefoot in the grass, which is a quick and easy way when the elements don't allow, because myself, I am a
Yeah.
freeze baby, so I won't do it in the winter. Some will, I won't. But even just feeling like really putting my focus on the bottom of my feet and what that feels like, right? I can really just pay attention and ask myself, what does my foot feel like right now? So the bottom of my foot inside of my sock, what does my sock feel like? What does my slipper feel like? What does the floor feel like, right? Just feeling that connection, it just helps bring me back into the space where I am. So that's another way we can help balance out that energy in our root chakra.
And also foods, right? So each of these have certain foods you could eat. I've been working on that. So any foods that are really red, right, or any in particular
Mhm.
that you prefer, or just
Yeah. So like you said, red, anything color red. And then when you think of root foods, like root vegetables,
beets.
sweet
Yeah,
potato,
yeah,
beets,
yeah,
yeah, turnips even. They're white in color, but they're a root vegetable. Carrots, anything that grows into the ground and really comes from that root. Dandelions, I was just thinking of dandelion root teas, anything woodsy and earthy
yep.
helps clear that energy.
Even certain
Yeah.
essential oils and incense and stuff too. I forgot, was it cedarwood, the one that I had? I don't know if that was for the root or the sacral. But there are different essential
Mhm.
oils too. Do you know any of that or particular? I think patchouli is a good one, but I don't know if that's really resonate. I like to use that. It makes me feel more grounded, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let me back up a little bit. We do have the seven chakras, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to say split up because they're not split per se, but from the heart space down are considered our lower, more earthy type
Yeah.
humanness chakras. From the heart up are more of our higher vibrational energy chakras, right? So more connection to spirit. So anything heart down could benefit from earthing, woodsy. Does that make sense? So on any of
Yeah.
those smells. So
Yeah.
for some people, patchouli might be more for sacral chakra with your
Oh.
emotions and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But if it feels good to you for
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the
Yeah.
big thing. If it feels good to you, it feels right
Yeah.
to you, do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what a piece of paper says or like trainings I think are great as a guide, right? We offer as much as we can and share the information that we can. And I think that's great for a guide and great for learning because our human wants that, kind of demands it in a way. Like I'm not believing it without some sort of proof, right?
Yeah.
But then also learning to trust ourselves, getting to know ourselves and what works for us, like do it, right?
And even some frequencies like there's that one that you mentioned, but I also found, I can look on YouTube and look for root chakra healing. I think I even found one that was like 356 that I like. But so
Mhm.
there's different ones that resonate. It works for one person, might not work for there, or something might resonate more. And even like crystals, I wear like more hematite bracelets or something if I want to work on my root. That's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I like, but there's a variety of different ones, different healing methods for all the
yeah,
chakras.
absolutely. And some of the black stones and black color too helps.
Obsidian, right? You think that goes?
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah, yeah. Um, helps with like the negative energy.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling some of that negative energy, it helps draw that out. So that's a definite benefit, right? And like you
Yep.
said too, we can mix and blend them. And there's different theories about that. Some say you shouldn't do, say, shouldn't do a red with a purple. And we'll get to those color, the rest of the colors in a few minutes. But if it feels good, why not? Because could they not balance themselves? That would be the polar opposite. If I had a root, right, and
Yeah.
red, and crown, say purple or even the white,
Yeah.
maybe they're not counteracting each other. Maybe they're pulling themselves together and they're balancing each other out. So I would definitely, again, just say, what does it feel like? And if it doesn't feel good to you, don't do it.
Yeah.
There's so much on YouTube. There's
Yeah.
so much I won't listen to on YouTube,
Yeah.
right? Because you pull some stuff up and you're like, oh, just something does, it sounded great, but it's not feeling very good. So don't do it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Trust yourself.
Yeah. I think we can move to the sacral now. I think we got pretty good into
Yeah.
the root. So I guess let's go into the sacral chakra.
Yeah. So the sacral chakra then is just above the root. So when you think of like below the belly button, so above the pubic area, below the belly button in the abdomen there, it's where our sacral chakra in that general vicinity is located. And it deals with our sexuality and
Mm.
creativity,
Yeah.
our emotions. carries the element of water.
Water. Mm.
hmm So when it's unbalanced, we might notice things like difficulties with our reproductive organs, right? Whether it's we're able to produce or not produce. Um, for women, it might be uh, things going on with our periods, whether we
Yeah.
might have endometriosis, all those female issues, urinary tract. So if you think about between your belly button and above your pubic, what organs are inside of your body right there,
Yeah.
right? So those are also affected by the sacral chakra, kind of governs those areas. So a little bit higher, still low back, but higher than the tailbone. You might notice low sexual desire or over sexual
Yeah.
desire, feeling insecure in our sexuality
Mm.
or in sexual relationships. Like you said, blame, shame, guilt could be also in our sacral chakra. Almost all of our emotions are governed by the sacral chakra. Creativity, so whether you feel like you're very creative or not creative at all, it's the energy in the sacral chakra. And I don't just mean creative like artistically, but even in the experience that we're having in this life, right? Am I creating the reality that I want to experience
Yeah.
or not?
Mm.
So, so that also is governed by our sacral chakra.
Yeah,
So when,
sacral is always the one that for me personally I need to work on, but I think in a society we're taught to suppress our emotions so much. I think a lot of
mhm,
people do have sacral chakras that are out of balance. And
mhm.
also anyone with, any kind of like sexual trauma too, that affects that. So I think I think that's one a lot of women are working on and maybe
Mhm.
struggle with. And mean, it's dealing with your emotions, so
Yeah,
which can be a dark place for
yeah.
a lot of people. So I always feel called to work on that one a little more. It always comes up. So, but I am starting to feel better with it, and it's also like your creativity resides there too, right? It's like your form of
Mhm.
yes. So I wouldn't say, I don't know if I want to say self expression, but self expression in the form of like creativity like flows through there, right? Too. It's
Mhm.
also like sensuality, right? All those things,
Yes,
and even your
yes.
inner child. Some people say your inner child, right? That has to do with when we're doing inner child healing or that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. That's related to the sacral chakra too, right? Or
Yeah,
not?
so two things I want to bring up, and one being the idea of a separation between emotions and feelings. So my emotions are kind of based on my human experience. It can change any moment. I can think myself into an emotion. I
Yeah,
can watch TV and
yeah,
have an emotion based on what I'm seeing, right? It can be around certain people, empathic, right? Be around certain people and pick up on the energies around us and have an emotion based on what I'm feeling. If I have trauma in my life, I can be triggered and feel something that I felt, 20 years ago, even though I'm not in that same situation right now. So those are the emotions where they're more, and that's a lot to deal with the sacral chakra. Excuse
yeah,
me. Whereas our feelings, so again, when you talk about the root chakra, when I feel safe in my body and I'm grounded and rooted in my body, and I do have that more balanced energy, then I don't have necessarily the quick shifts in my emotions, right? It
that
plays
makes
that role
sense.
together.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm Because I'm doing healing around my trauma, and it takes a lot of time, right? So again,
It's
no
not gonna
blame,
happen
shame, and
overnight,
guilt for our journey.
Yeah,
Yes. But as I might notice, as I'm doing that and as I'm healing that and as I'm clearing that stuff out, then maybe what triggered me before doesn't trigger me the same now. I might still have a memory of it. I might still, think, oh, yeah, that was kind of rough. But I don't have that same right now intense emotional feeling when I'm being triggered or remembering a situation as I did before I was able to heal. So that's like another example of how those energies, one affects the other. When I'm, clearing in the sacral and the root, then back up again because it doesn't again stop, right? It's
yeah,
down, up, in, out, like all over. It just keeps
yeah.
on going. And then one affects the other. So yeah, oftentimes our emotions are what's just kind of quick to change, where our feelings can be more centered and grounded, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really think about it that way. I guess, and I notice when I am more grounded, like my root chakra feels more balanced. I do feel like my emotions aren't as shifty. I think that was a good point you brought up about the emotions shifting. So, um, yeah, I just think, yeah, I guess I just realized that. So I think that's a good connection that you made there. So,
Good, good, good. And then, as you said, so for the just like the root chakra, the sacral chakra also resonates with certain colors and frequencies,
yeah,
right? So with color therapy, the color for the sacral chakra would be orange. So we could eat oranges. We could eat foods that are orange or orange-ish in color. Water, though, is the element of the sacral chakra. So even when you think of the moon, right?
yeah,
When we have full moon, we might notice a change in our emotions. So it's kind of mentioning the moon
yeah.
and how it affects water. So if it
Mm-hmm.
can affect the waves in the ocean, it can definitely affect the human body. Okay, so sacral chakra and solfeggio frequencies, the solfeggio frequency that resonates with the sacral chakra is 417.
Mm-hmm.
And an affirmation or reflection, if you guys like to journal, would be I feel, right?
Mm,
And sometimes we don't really pay attention to, at least I know I didn't, to how we actually feel. Because we all can feel many emotions throughout a day, but do we pay attention to what they are? Do we recognize them? Do we label them? Do we shine a light on them, right? So just being able to do that, bringing that into our awareness and knowing what it is we feel. We don't even have to add anything to it. We don't have to wonder why. We don't have to add all the things like our brains like to do sometimes, but just being aware of what we feel can help us clear out the energy in that sacral chakra or balance energy in the sacral chakra.
even writing out your feelings or some form of self-expression with feelings, or even if it's therapy, it could
Mhm.
be some music, or even for me, what's helped me a lot with my sacral, I think, is even doing content creation. A lot of the videos I do on my YouTube channel, they were inspired by certain emotions I felt. So maybe it's not directly me talking about, but it's kind of just, I guess I think when I think of sacral, I think more expression. So, yeah, expressing yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that is a good point because if we don't express our emotions in some way or another, or release them in some way or another, we just block ourselves and we create more imbalances in our system, right? Which if we don't clear the energy and it just gets closer and closer basically to the physical body, so then the physical body in a sense expresses it then through a physical dis-ease,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's really good that you're bringing up the expression with the emotions for sure.
Yeah. And then you have the foods like oranges, so it just like that. Do you have any other food in particular besides oranges you think would? I don't even know what else is orange. Orange peppers, or I don't
I
even
know, right? There
know.
are orange peppers.
Carrots, carrots, that would be one.
There you go. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but what made me think when you said food with emotions was emotional eating.
Yes.
So being aware of that, that's not always a great thing to balance the sacral chakra, but sometimes we emotionally eat.
Yep.
So paying attention to what we're eating, the carrots would be a much better choice than what I had in mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So next one up,
Yep.
solar plexus chakra.
Yep.
So above the belly button, yet below the chest is our solar plexus chakra. And again, don't focus on just that one point because it flares out, right? It deals with our personal power, our self-worth, our self-esteem, our self-image, which just means how we see ourselves, right? Oftentimes we say, who are you or who am I as a human? Um, but that belief about ourselves can change. Different characteristics about ourselves can change. But whatever that is in this moment, and that could feed into those fears, right? It could stem from or feed into and can recycle and recycle, as we had mentioned before. Some things you might recognize if your solar plexus chakra is blocked or imbalanced would be things like ulcers or even
Mm.
diabetes or food allergies,
Yeah.
anything dealing with your digestive system, gallstones, low self-esteem. As we said, we talked about it deals with our self-esteem and self-image, not feeling good about ourselves, or sometimes people go through like what they call an identity crisis, right? Just wondering like, who in the heck am I? I kind of went through that
Yeah.
myself. If anyone's familiar with like codependency things,
Yeah.
just being so super focused on everything and everyone around me that when I backed up enough to say like, who am I and what do I like? Or people would ask me, what do you like to do? And I was like, like it's like you feel like you don't know who you are just because you've over focused everything on the outside of you. And I think for me, at least, that was part of my spiritual awakening as well, is really just getting to see who I am and then choosing, because we also get to choose some of our characteristics, right?
Yeah.
We might dealing with those addictions, maybe it's something that I'm trying to numb that I think or believe about myself that I don't like. And maybe I don't think I can change it or don't understand that I can change it just yet. And that might sound weird to some people, but that's legit.
Yeah.
Many times in my life where I thought how I was just how I was. And I was, I had no control over it. We don't realize just yet that we do. That fear of rejection, negative thinking patterns. So solar plexus also deals with our thought patterns.
Yeah.
So I think it was Louise Hay who had explained that basically our beliefs are just a repeated thought. So whatever we're thinking over and over again that becomes habitual, kind of turned into is now what we call a belief. So again, what are my beliefs about myself? I'm not good enough. I can't show up. Oh, Diana asked me to show up on her podcast, but I'm not
Yeah.
good enough to show up on our
Yeah.
podcast, right? How would that affect the energy flow in my solar plexus? Criticizing myself all the time, oops, I stumbled over my tongue. Now I have to beat myself up or,
Yeah.
all the things.
I always think of solar plexus. I think more your willpower, right? It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's like your will to live, your will to do everything, and like your yeah, like your belief in yourself. All that what you said.
Hmm.
Yep.
Right. Because if I feel like I'm undeserving or I'm not good enough, where's my drive or where do I think that I'm okay or have a right to be? Right. How do I have willpower when I think I'm nothing? Right.
Yep.
Like for me anyway, it's like when I was in my lows, yeah. I didn't have any willpower, no self power or personal power, no, like it was like a nothing.
Yeah.
So that's big solar plexus stuff there.
Yep.
The element for your solar plexus is fire. So even think of like the sun. So when the sun sets, I don't know if you guys sun gaze. I like to do that.
Because you think solar,
Can't,
it's called solar plexus. Yeah.
right? Solar sun,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. You could do things like candles. So Diana, you had mentioned like essential oils too, or burning the incense. So that's kind of a twofold because in a sense you're burning, right? You have that for a candle, you have a flame on the candle, and then you light a fire to burn the incense. So you have some of that energy of the fire in itself, and then you can add the scents to go along with it. I like cinnamon a lot for solar plexus
Oh,
too.
nice. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. What else? Oh, sunbathing. So if you like to get out, and it's anything to do with the sun, really, or like fire safely,
Yeah.
using fire safely can help balance and clear out the solar plexus. So then color yellow when we're using colors, whether we wear clothing that's yellow, um, just have those things, in our energy field to be yellow, yellow food. So we do have the yellow peppers, lemons.
Tiger's Eye I like for the solar plexus. And to go back to the sacral, I don't think we listed a crystal for the sacral, but sacral I really like carnelian. That was just going backwards a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, but the solar plexus, I don't know, Tiger's Eye helps me. Even like citrine helps me for both of those
Yeah.
chakras. But it
Yeah,
has a
I
lot of
like
energy.
history.
Sometimes it's a little too much. That one gets a little, I have to put it away from me sometimes.
Yeah, the citrine.
Yeah, I don't know why it's very powerful. When I have it, like I can feel it. Yes, and some crystals, you can look up on YouTube, crystal or whatever, or
Mhm.
Google, crystals for each of the chakras, healing. Some might work better for you than others. You might resonate with energy of a
Yeah.
crystal more than others too. So you can kind of see how you can even put it up to your chakra, right, and just see how you feel.
Yes.
See how it feels.
Absolutely. And something else I learned, it was Eden Energy Medicine had mentioned you can do it with food as well as ask your body literally. You hold it close to you. Can you see me here? You hold it close to your body and just ask, does my body need this or do I need this? And if you
Mm.
lean forward, it's a yes. If you lean back, it's a no.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? How cool is that?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I should
pretty cool.
totally do
Yeah.
my diet like that, but I don't. Like, do I
Yeah,
need
that's a
that?
different. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Won't go to get into all that.
Yep.
Um, oh, solfeggio frequency. that resonates with the solar plexus chakra would be 528 hertz. And then an affirmation or reflection, if you like to journal, is I do. So think of action,
Yeah.
right? How do you think about yourself? What do you do? Because what we do can kind of show us, right? Why do I do that? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And then we could just kind of take it down in a sense through our chakras, right? We journal through our chakras just as well.
Yep.
Did I cover everything there? I think so.
Yeah, I think we're good. We can go up to the heart chakra.
All right, coolness. So heart chakra, it's right there, right in the chest area. And in the center of the chest, a space for love. And that love is for self and others. And I think oftentimes we forget self because we believe in the lower chakras that loving ourselves is selfish and greedy and wrong, right? We're only supposed to have love for others. And I completely disagree with that. So, love for self and others, having that space of compassion, the space for forgiveness. Um, so when people really talk about being in their heart space, it's that, right? So it's leaving blame, shame, and guilt behind, whether we're pointing fingers at someone else or ourselves, and just being in that space of love. If there are blocks or imbalances or overactivity in the heart chakra, we might experience things like asthma. So think of, right, it governs the chest area. So anything in that space, our heart, our circulatory system, our lungs, so our respiratory system, heart disease, lung disease, low immune system. Psychologically or emotionally, we might have things like the self-guilt still,
You know, like grief.
right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, grief is a big
Yes,
one, I
grief is
think.
big.
Yeah.
Yes, agree. Even some jealousies and some anger. I see anger as being like an umbrella term. So we might have anger, but there's so many different things we feel that it's like that anger to me is a shield. And then when I look beyond the anger, I can see a lot of other feelings that are kind of hiding under the anger. Bitterness, fear, when we say we can't forgive, right? Something was so terrible, and I'm not saying it wasn't terrible, but something was so terrible that we can't forgive. But the downfall is it's us, right? That is carrying the weight of that resentment or not being able to forgive. Forgiveness is a big thing in the heart space, the energy in our heart chakra.
Yeah.
Um, I want to go with next. You got me on crystals now. So some crystals that might resonate with the
Yeah.
heart chakra. We can go with the greens and also pinks. So
Rose
like rose
quartz is a good
quartz.
one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it. I always have that around.
Yeah, green tourmaline, green aventurine, even jade are some other good ones for our heart chakra. And the heart, the element of the heart chakra is air, right? You're thinking of breath. We're breathing in that air. So different types of breathing exercises, activities can help clear out the
Yeah.
energy in our heart chakra. Green, you can wear the clothes of green or pink. Eating food, so like leafy greens types of foods. I was trying to think of the pink grapefruit. I don't know if I would want to eat it. It's not one of my favorites. I'm just saying some people like it. That's great. Sorry. And my little judgment on the pink grapefruit come out there.
Another thing I
So
think about that I was thinking about, I think we brought it before, like if you have like let's say there's a certain chakra that maybe is unbalanced, if you have resistance to that color that's associated with that chakra, sometimes I take that as a sign, maybe why do I not like I remember I didn't like orange for a while and I think I didn't really want to work on my sacral chakra. I wasn't really expressing. I was like expressing my emotions more. I just think that's interesting. How sometimes I'm not saying that's always the case, but if you're having a big rejection to maybe the type of kind of food that's that color or like or just that color in general, like you might maybe have a block in there, maybe you don't, it's like you don't want to face it or you don't want to work on it, or maybe it's an area that needs healing. I don't know, I'm not saying that's a proven fact, but I don't know, I did notice like a pattern with that.
yeah, and that's great awareness. I'm glad you brought that up because I believe there's some truth in that. Like you say, yes, there's just a preference, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I like it, maybe I don't. But when you have that extra resistance, it's worth exploring to see the why. Like, why
Yeah.
am I so, against this color or this thing?
Or
Like,
that area of
yeah.
your body too. I did a Reiki session with one of my friends who's a medium, and she said my sacral chakra. She said the energy she picked up from when the sacral chakra was it didn't want to be seen, right? And I thought that was really interesting. It's always a sacral for me, but it's like so. I was like, oh, I did feel that way when she said that. I did feel like it wanted to be like hidden away and it didn't have as much energy there as it could have, you know. So I just thought that was it was interesting. Some from someone who does Reiki as well, and he was a psychic on top of that.
Yeah, for real, right? It is interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a good point because sometimes it's either us as a whole that doesn't want to be seen, or there's just a thing about us, a memory, right, that doesn't want to be seen. But it's still something that we can always go deeper, right?
Yeah.
We're such interesting
We're
beings.
multidimensional, you know, so there's a lot of different
Yeah,
levels to that. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. The solfeggio frequency that resonates with the heart chakra is 639.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, an affirmation or reflection that we can use is I love.
Mm.
You know, and really look at that. I love. And then I challenge anyone who wants to do that one to ask about yourself as well. Can you say or do you write? Do you include yourself or things about yourself?
And
I
our
just think it's
relationships are a
common.
reflection, even love in general, you know, it's a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. So I think some people think with their heart chakra, they're thinking about loving others, heartbreak from others, but it's also, do you love yourself unconditionally? You know, that's another aspect of that, I think, you know, and yeah.
Yeah, great point. I love that. So
Yeah.
next up,
Yep. We go
throat
up.
chakra.
Yep.
So right in this area, of course, spreading out. So when I think of throat chakra too, just as you think of where it governs in the body, think of ears, nose, and throat, right? Sometimes we think of doctor or medical and what they cover, ears, nose, and throat. And that holds true for our throat chakra as well. So the throat chakra does talk about speaking our truth, our communication, how we express ourselves, or not, whether we don't express ourselves or stuff it and hide it or keep it quiet. But it also talks about or think about our hearing, right? Do we really hear people when they speak, or do we? I used to listen. I say it used to be like a cat. I would listen to pounce. I'm waiting for that moment of how I can react or respond to something, right? So are we really open to listening, or do we have that block there? Is there an overactivity, or am I over listening to everything, right? So think of that in your throat chakra, the way that you communicate both in speaking and
And
expressing and
listening.
in
Yeah. It's equal
hearing. Yes,
exchange, you know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So some things, physical aspects for unbalanced throat chakra might be like thyroid problems, sore throats, if you have a lot of difficulty with your throat. Many of us, tonsils growing up had major issues, have to get them taken out, might grow back.
Yeah.
Stiff neck, even shoulders, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I always say I hold tension in my shoulders, between the shoulders and the neck or the stiff neck, difficulty with hearing. You might even experience like nightmares, have lack
Yeah.
of concentration, again, difficulty expressing yourself, overactive. Maybe I overshare, I overspeak, I overexpress,
Yeah.
right? Or am I expressing my truth? Or am I saying things that I think people want to hear? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something to be mindful of as well in our communication, right? Am I being true to myself when I'm speaking, or is something holding me back from saying what would be true to me because
Yeah.
I think someone else wants to hear something different?
Yep.
Uh, s- Stones, crystals for
Yep.
throat
Sure.
chakra.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorites?
What do turquoise is a thing, like, and because you can wear it
Hmm.
around your neck. So I'd
Hmm.
say I use turquoise now. Is sodalite, is that for your throat or is that for your third eye? Or it can be both. And there's some that can be
Could
for
be both.
multiple chakras, right? I
Hmm.
do like sodalite as well. I thought I used that for my throat as well, but I think turquoise I would say for me.
Yeah, I like turquoise and sodalite too a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I almost forgot the element. So throat chakra, the element for the throat chakra actually is space. So just
Oh.
think of the space that you are in, right? Could be universal space all the way around, but it's space. And when I think of that, I think of the openness and just our place in space. And then again, being true to ourselves in this space, trying to, yeah, there's just so many directions I was going to take off with that, but we'd be here another hour. I
What was
won't
the
do that.
element for the heart? I don't remember if you said it. Sorry, I forgot. What was the heart element?
Heart element is air.
Oh, air. I don't know why I thought that
Mhm.
was different. Oh, gotcha. That is,
Well, I think
yeah.
because we think of heart and then
Space
we
and air.
think of
Yeah.
love and we think of the heart itself, but then it's
Yeah.
also the lungs and air and life, right?
Yeah.
Because air brings us life in this as a human being.
Yep.
Um, so colors would be like a lighter blue. So you're talking about like turquoise is kind of that
Yeah.
little bit lighter blue. Foods, blueberries. What
Yeah.
blue foods are
Yeah.
there?
I was just thinking, I don't know what else is blue.
Berries? Yeah, it might be a tough one. So clothing, we could definitely wear some light blue clothing,
Yeah.
or just around some things in our area. Maybe it's a blanket, or a pillow, or the sheets on your bed, or it could be anything. Um, Solfeggio frequency is 741 hertz.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good
And
one. I listen
then,
to that.
yeah, I like that one too. And then affirmations or reflections, I speak, I hear, right? Take a moment sometimes after a conversation, if you have a moment, and just really process and did I hear them right? Or ask them, because sometimes we misunderstand what people are saying because we're hearing it from our own lens,
Sometimes through the eyes of
right?
our own trauma or the eyes of our own beliefs, limiting beliefs, they could be saying a bunch of different things, and we're focusing on the thing that caused that emotional trigger. I've had that happen. Well, everyone has it happen, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's like, are you
yeah,
really listening? Kind of just more objective, and more of the observer, not like so in the middle. Someone's tone. I mean, there's a lot of different factors to look forward to, like their body language and their tone and things like that, and
hmm
not making assumptions.
yeah, exactly, though.
Yeah.
And is it what they're saying or is it just what I'm hearing them say? Because it's not always the same thing.
Yeah.
So next one up. Sorry, I'm trying to like go through them a little bit because I just happen to see the time. Like, oh man, Diana, I'm gonna take up all your time here.
Oh yeah, it's okay. We can. Yeah, it's no rush. But yeah. Oh wait, and are there any essential oils you would recommend for the throat? I don't really know about that, or off the top of your head. If not, we can move on.
Let's say top of my head, what was I just thinking of? I was thinking of eucalyptus is what came to mind.
Okay.
hmm Yeah, not sure why, but eucalyptus just came to mind.
Yeah.
The
Cool.
third eye chakra.
Yeah. Let's go to the third eye. I like this one. This is one of my favorites. I used to like the crown more, but I think I'm. I don't want
Yeah.
to say I have favorites, but I do like the third eye is more fun. Now these are the fun chakras. That's what I say.
I know, right there, the fun
Yeah.
chakras. Get up out of that human trauma and come out to the fun spirit world. The third eye chakra is between the brows, deals with intuition, life purpose, right? It's our inner knowing. It's also our
Yeah.
self-awareness. But then it deals with our, as we mentioned before, like our clairs. Are you clairvoyant, clairaudient? Um, More of how we can see with that spiritual lens, if you will. Imbalances in the third eye chakra might be headaches, physical blurred vision, even sinus difficulty. You might notice depression, loneliness, some fears again,
Yeah.
anxieties. When I think of anxieties too, I noticed in my journey, I experienced anxiety in my first knowledge or understanding, what I learned first, I should say, was more about my human experience with anxiety, my human emotions with anxiety, my human thoughts with anxiety. What wasn't being explored until I was older was the spiritual aspect with anxiety. So sometimes feeling higher vibrations around me felt the same as anxiety, but is not the same,
Yeah.
right? So even having that awareness. So another example was realizing that excitement feels like anxiety in
Yeah.
my body. So that's a big difference because excitement sounds happy, right? Like there's a completely different ball of emotions that can come with excitement versus a ball of emotions that could come with anxiety and fear.
Mm-hmm.
So having that awareness around the two, not having that awareness around the two is blockages and imbalances in that third eyebrow chakra as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some associated stones, lapis lazuli,
Yeah,
the
that's a good
sodalite,
one. I
like you
have a
said, could be.
pendulum for that one actually. Lapis. Yeah.
Do
Pretty
you?
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice.
Awesome. See, I've got a pie stone of the sodalite.
Yeah, I like the soul. For me, it's a very calming stone. Yeah, I really like sodalite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. Me too. So still color blue, maybe the darker shades of blue, right, for the third eye.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could even be getting into some purples.
Mm-hmm.
Foods might be grapes. Still go for
Yeah.
some
Mm-hmm.
blueberries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of blue color foods
Yeah.
on that one. Not at the top of my head,
So
anyways.
is it considered more indigo or blue? Sometimes I hear people interchange like the what would you think is
Hmm.
more of the color?
I mean, technically they say indigo, but even indigo,
Is like a
I try to
similar to
deep
blue.
dive on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on your color charts, where it falls into. Because some look more blue and some look a little more purpley. But again, I think do what feels right,
Yeah.
right? Because even our stones, so I'm looking at them all like most of our stones we can look at. You can have different shades of those as well, right? Some are
Yeah.
darker, some are lighter. Amethyst is a good example. Sometimes you got that really dark, deep purple in your amethyst, and sometimes it's like a lighter shade of purple
Yeah.
in an amethyst. So use what feels right. This is
Yeah.
just kind of a guide to get us started.
Yeah.
If I had to look at, what's the first thing I would go to, I could try this. And then if that's not resonating, I could try something else. If it's not feeling right, try something. And I might even find it's not even what I thought it was at all.
Yeah.
So there's that too. Let's see. Solfeggio frequency would be 852 hertz.
Mm.
Some affirmations or reflections we can work on is I see, right? What do
Mm.
I see? And maybe it's not I see may or may not be what I see physically, but what is my perspective? Think about your perspective. Think about your awareness. What am I aware of? Have you guys ever reacted to something and wondered, like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Right? I know I have. So then maybe that would be a situation where you could ask yourself, like, I see, because I want to take a deeper look into it. Where did that come from? What was I thinking? What was I feeling? What was just happening? All the things.
Mm.
Um, the element of third eye chakra is light.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. So I think of moonlight and sunlight and like anything light. Um, if you're light and sound to me resonates, like the different vibrations of light and sound, like you have a different speed or different movement. That might just be my weird thing, but there's that.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say about third eye?
I'm trying
You
to
want me
think.
to
I
go
don't.
into crown?
Yeah. I think we're pretty good on. Yeah. I think we've touched on everything. Yeah. On for the third eye. I
Okay.
think we can move on to the crown.
All right. So number 7, if you will, crown chakra at the top of the head. Our connection with divine, with source, God, source, creator, universe, whatever name you guys give,
Mm.
deals with our belief system, though, right?
Yeah.
So whether we're open and accepting and receiving in our spirituality, or for some of us, depending on what our beliefs are or were, there might be some conflicts in what we believe too, right?
Mm.
Imbalances, we might experience migraines again, tension, headaches, um, anything that can affect our brain, our central nervous
Yeah.
system. We might find that we're feeling very materialistic, or again, with that proof. And I'm not saying that we want to take everything as a truth or follow everything that we hear or see or experience, but sometimes when you have that inner connection with God, source, creator, you can't always prove this to someone, right?
Yeah.
Like when you have that knowing and your clairs are open and you're just being guided and you have those spiritual downloads, it's kind of hard to prove it to people. There has to
Yeah.
be a sense of faith, like really faith and trust in your knowing. When it's blocked and gunky and heavy and or even overactive, we might have that feeling of disconnection,
Yeah.
disconnecting from our body, disconnecting from source, disconnecting
Mm.
from purpose, disconnecting from whatever your higher power beliefs may be.
Mm.
Again, falling from that faith down in that heaviness of fear.
Yeah.
Some stones that are associated with the crown chakra would be the amethyst.
Yeah. I really like. I always have my amethyst. Yeah. I like amethyst
Yes,
a lot.
clear quartz. I use this a lot when I speak. Just, I don't
Yeah.
know, helps me with that connected feeling, right? Because I want to speak
Have
more
some
through
too,
source
right
and
here.
not my
Yeah.
humanness. Yay! Selenite is another good one I
I
like.
love selenite. I have a bracelet for selenite, and
Do
selenite's the
you?
one that actually can charge other crystals too, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what's really cool. I don't know. For me, selenite gives me more. I just feel more balanced when I wear it. Something about
Hmm.
it, I just feel like more balanced. I like it.
Yeah. I have these little ones here. I like to, like you said, you could charge other crystals with it.
Yeah,
So some of
like a
my beads when
bar.
I'm
Yeah,
done, yep, I'll set them on here. Well, not with the crystal quartz, but a lot of my smaller stones are my bracelets I like to set on the bar. It's a great idea. And it's for ourselves too. So we could set that on our chakras.
I wave it throughout my body to balance. I felt called to like wave the crystal wand.
Hmm.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Say used in healing. Some of these crystals too, even though we're saying like red fruit root, but the whites and the blacks, like the hematite, um, what was the other black one? Obsidian,
Mm.
we can use on any of our chakras
And to
too.
help ground it in, I think more for. I think you told me before when I had one of the chakras. I don't know if my solar plexus probably that was like overactive. You said I could put like more of a grounding crystal on it to help bring it
Yes.
down. Like, 'cause maybe if you feel or that overwhelming emotions that are associated with those chakras, yeah, that could be another one. That does help. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
limited to like just because this crystal is supposed to go with a chakra means it needs to be used for it. You could kind of use what feels right, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Good job. So, the element for the crown chakra is spirit, right?
Yep.
And gratitude, I think, is a great, to me, it's a great uplifting way of clearing out my crown chakra because I notice that when my crown chakra is getting blocked and gunky, oftentimes it's because I've dipped into so much of my humanness,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that my thoughts have taken me in the way of that. Now I'm worried about my human self,
Yeah.
which is all that lower vibrational stuff. Where when I switch it into gratitude and I'm starting to see the abundance of everything around me and the safety that I do have,
Yeah.
that brings me back up into that feelings of faith, right? And connection with spirit. And then I'm
Yeah.
not so worried about the human because I know that I'm okay. It's bringing in that other sense of knowing and releasing and clearing away from all those human negative thought patterns that can block that flow.
I think the crown chakra also is like the connection to everything, a connection to all that is,
Yes.
type of thing, connection to source. For me, when you get more spiritual downloads, I think, hey, my crown chakra is pretty active, flowing, when I get all the ideas flowing stuff. So the crown's fun,
Yeah.
and the crown is the one that's above, that's not in the body, right? It's the one that's above. So I think
Mhm.
that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And then color for crown chakra would be violet or white even.
Yeah. Mm.
Mhm. Did I say solfeggio frequency already? Is 963 if I did it?
963, yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, I actually like that one. They call it the God frequency. I use that one, yeah.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
about foods for so does that mean white or purple food, right? So like
Yeah. Yeah.
eggplants, plums, even white.
Hmm.
So you even say like
Hmm.
white foods like garlic or I don't
Hmm.
know. Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Turnips are white, even though it's a root vegetable. And again, you'll notice if you really take some time and go through each one and you think about where they're located on the body, you can start working with the polar opposites because working with polar opposites also help balance and you really see how one affects the other. So again, with the blockages with the crown chakra, if we think about white foods and I just brought up a turnip is also a root vegetable, right? A root food. So that benefits the root chakra. You could almost probably, I know I have with a few, I just don't have them off the top of my head to give it as an example, but I had some examples of like root chakra, crown chakra. So it was almost like to say if they're balanced, then with the root and the crown, it would be this. And my imbalances, I could really see how it affected both. And then same for sacral chakra and third eye chakra, those emotional feelings of humanness, human triggers, human
Yeah.
experience versus the inner feelings, the inner knowing of my third eye chakra, of my clairs, of being an empath, right? The more settled spiritual faith, safe feelings
Yeah.
versus the triggered sacral chakra emotional feelings. It could get confusing, but it's interesting once you start to really dive into those and separate each one, and you can see the connection between the two. So affirmations and reflections for the crown chakra would be, I understand. And part of me thinks that it's not even, there's a level of understanding and it's humanist understanding, or is it faith-based understanding, right? Because to me, there's a difference. In my humanness, I might want to say more of, prove it, or where's your source kind of thing, where are you getting your information? Whereas my crown chakra, I feel like there's more faith in
It's like an
that.
inner knowing. Yeah, it's like trusting in the
Yeah.
divine, trusting in your connection to source. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
different.
Yeah. Like, does it resonate or does it not kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are our seven main
Yeah.
chakras that align with the body.
That was very good. That's very detailed. I think the main reason I want to do this right now, I just think with everything that's going on the planet, we have a big mass awakening going on, and some people are just learning about their chakras and healing and learning to process these tougher emotions. So I think it's important to work on healing ourselves and being more balanced, because you can get really easy to get caught up in all the chaos of the world. So I think it was good to get on here and talk about that. And the only other point I do want to bring up is that we mentioned that sometimes some of the imbalances could be from our past lives, right? You could have, I remember I did an Akashic record reading, and there was supposedly a tear in one of my chakras from some past life trauma or something. So sometimes, there are, like what you said before, there are different layers to these chakras. And even if we worked on one layer, there's still deeper layers to all of it, and we're not always going to be healed, all the way healed, and there's always going to be imbalance. There's going to be emotions that cause these imbalances. So, we're not going to heal them overnight, and, we can get Reiki, we can do all the methods that you said, but I think it's being patient with yourself and being compassionate. And a lot of us have been through a lot of emotional trauma and even we go into past lives, and just a lot of different experiences that could cause these imbalances. So so one day at a time type of thing. And even being aware of them and working on them is a big step, even though you're taking steps to work on them. And I just think it's good, just you're taking a step in the right direction.
I agree
Because
with
it can
you
be overwhelming
9%.
when you hear all those chakras. You're like, oh my goodness, I have to heal all these chakras, and this is out of balance. I was kind of obsessed with it at first when I was doing that. I would, and I was like, oh no. But I just started with the root, and so for anyone that wants to start, you think it's a good idea to start with the root and go up, right? Or not necessarily, or just what you feel called to. I guess it depends, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think it depends. I know a lot of people, or what I would read when I was studying and studying and studying, a lot of people say start with the root. Just start wherever you're at, because again, it's not linear. And even though we
Yeah,
talk about them in steps and we talk about one at a time, it's not. The energy is constantly flowing. We're constantly living life. We're constantly having experiences,
yeah,
depending on how long we've been in this world.
yeah.
And then again, like you say, past lives, there's just so much there. Just start. I guess that would be my thing. Just start.
What
Just
you
get
feel
to know
called
yourself.
to. Yeah, I felt called to
Yeah.
the root. That's where I was at the time. But you might be
Hmm.
called to do something else. And Reiki. You get Reiki done in person. What resonates with you, or even there's virtual Reiki. I've had really
Hmm.
good virtual Reiki sessions. So kind of I just go with what resonates for me. But you don't have to have
Yeah.
Reiki to heal your chakras. But I think it's beneficial to look into. So
Right, right. And like we just went over a few things that we can do ourselves, whether we do Reiki or not, to help clear out the energy, clear and balance energy in our chakras.
yep.
Mhm.
Well, that's cool. Well, all right, Robin. Do you have anything else to add? If not, we can talk about more where they can find you, or if you have any courses you're offering, or Reiki sessions, or anything you want to promote here, or that people could find you if they want to get any services or courses or anything from you.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, since we're on the topic of Reiki or of Reiki and chakras,
Yeah.
topic of chakras first, so we went over them. If you'd like to go into those a little bit deeper, I do have the 7-day Chakra Healing Challenge. So if you go to theenergyhealingschool.com,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see it's free of charge, and there's 2 years so far of videos on it. Not years, but there's 14 videos ready right now. It's set up for this year's live challenge. I do it live every year. So there's a video for each chakra, and we go into these things a little bit more. So I invite you to go ahead and do that.
Highly
Um,
recommend. I did them, by the way. I've done it like 2 times, and and I got more out of it each time too, and that's really helped me. That's how I learned about the chakras, through her. So, yeah. Mhm.
Thank you. you. And I do love that. And I do love that it's annual, because each time it does seem like more comes up, right? And you're
Yeah.
always evolving. So we can, every year, whatever comes in and whatever's going on, we can add that to it. So I really like that process too. So thank you for that, Diana. And if you're on this, when you're on the site, if you want to sign up for Reiki, that's available as well. If you already do Reiki and you're trying to do a business or you feel like you have money blocks and you're just not getting that financial freedom that you would like to have, we have the 5-day money blocks clearing challenge, but it's all there on that website available for you.
And you're still on YouTube, or you're still pretty active on YouTube, or yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I took a little pause to work on some things on the
Yeah.
back end here. I'll be coming back on, so we'll be doing some more journaling. So energy healing journaling as we take everything through the 7 energies, which includes the chakras. So that's available as well. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, well, thanks for coming on again. And yeah, so everybody, yeah, chakras are important, and chakra healing is good. And obviously, if you feel called to do it, but in my opinion, it's very beneficial, and it's really like changed my life and heal some of the blocks I have on all levels. It's connected to your physical, your mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of yourself. So I really think it's like a holistic thing. When you work on these, you'll see improvements in all areas of your life. All right, well, I guess that's all we have for today. So thank you again, Robin, for coming on. And we are signing off, Trailblazers of the Universe. And make sure to give me a follow on here as well if it resonates, and share if that resonates as well. Have a good day. Namaste.